Hey, I'm Chris Calzar, and this is my story about how I went from being 16 years old, broke, no education, leaving school, to now living my dream life in Thailand. So it all started when I was 16 years old and I got my GCSE results and I hated school. I don't know if any of you guys enjoy school, but I really hated it. And when I remember opening that letter and looking at my results, and I realized I did not want to be in education anymore. The problem is I had no clue what to do. Fortunately, my parents were very supportive, and although they're both very highly educated, they said, do what makes you happy. They always encouraged me to pursue what makes me happy. They said it's not about money, it's not about prestige, it's not about success, but life is about happiness. So I left and I did what any 16-year-old could do at that time, and I started working in retail. I started in a sports store in my hometown, and it was honestly the best thing. I remember doing my interview, I turned up in a suit to a retail interview, and my manager, Drew, he didn't know what to expect. I turned up, suited and booted, ready to go, and I aced that interview. When I practiced with my dad for 3-4 hours before I had this interview, we went through every single possible question he could ask me, and I answered them, and I had my answers prepared, and I'd memorized everything. And I remember walking in the store, my hands were sweaty, I was really nervous, I'd never done an interview before, and we went upstairs, full suit, black tie, and I aced the interview, I got the job, and I started on Monday. And I was getting paid £250 a week. I got them in these brown envelopes every single week, so I was making about £12,000 a year, which was amazing for a 16-year-old. But I realized I wanted more. So this is when I discovered sales, and I discovered that I was good at sales, and I could talk to people, and through working in the store, I could convince people if they buy some running shoes, they might need a £2,000 treadmill at the same time. Not everybody bought it, but some people did. And that's where I discovered that I had a natural ability for sales, and I needed to hone that in. I was very fortunate that I had a mentor who, when I was 16, broke down how a company works, how to do sales, how to do this sales stuff and be an adult. He was a CEO of a really large company in my hometown, and I remember it very vividly. I had a blue polo shirt on, and I went to the front desk and I said, hey, I'm here to see so-and-so, and the lady at the front desk laughed at me. And she said, no, you're not here to see him, as he was the CEO of the company. And I stood there like, well, I am, so can you call him? And I'm normally nice to everybody, but this lady, I didn't like her at all. And she ended up not calling anybody, not doing anything. So I texted him. I said, hey, I'm downstairs. The lady won't let me up. So he personally came downstairs and he said, hey, Chris, good to see you. Shook my hand and took me up to the boardroom. And that's where he broke down how business works, how sales works, how business happens in the real world. Because up until that point, I'd spent my time in retail. Like many of you guys, maybe in retail, it's a noble profession and it's a good place to start. But this is what would change my life for the foreseeable future. I learned the ability to sell, and I then got sales job after sales job, working my way up from selling shoes and treadmills and sports equipment and socks to the local people in my town, to then selling drainage CCTV services to the construction industry, to then software. And this is where everything changed, because I was selling software to hedge funds. My first white collar sales job, I was selling software to some of the smartest people in the world. Bear in mind, I was 18 years old. So to say I didn't have a clue was, you'd be right. When I started, I was awful. I had no clue about how to do anything. But I was fortunate that I asked enough questions in order to get the right answers. I then moved on to selling software to some of the largest banks in the world. Most of them you probably use. If you use HSBC, you probably don't use Goldman Sachs, or maybe you do, I don't know. Or NatWest, RBS, any of those guys, they use a piece of software that I sold them. It was the end of 2019, and I closed a really big deal with a really big bank. So at the end of 2019, December 2019, I booked my ticket to come to Thailand. I had no plan. Up until this point, I was the kind of person that meticulously would plan out every single detail. I don't know if you're similar to me, but when I'd go on a trip, I would have a list of things that I'm like, this is what I've got to do. This is my list, this is my itinerary. Whenever my friends travel with me, they say, hey Chris, plan this out please, because they know that I'll find the best restaurants, make all the reservations, and set everything up so everybody has a good time. But it was the beginning of 2020, and I landed in Thailand, I was backpacking, I had a little bit of money, so I had some flexibility, but I didn't have a plan. And I spent the first month partying, having so much fun, and I realized I wanted to do this full time. I wanted to live in Thailand full time. Maybe not party all the time, as now I don't drink anymore, I don't smoke. Let's go back. I realized I wanted to be abroad full time. And that's really where my passion for living abroad, making an income remotely, first started. But I can tell you that it's really difficult to make money online. Anybody who's going to tell you it's easy is a load of rubbish, or they have a very expensive course to sell you. Making money online is really hard. And for the past 3.5 years, I've been figuring it out. I've started a marketing agency, I've done copywriting, I've done sales consulting. I've done an awful lot of things, and to be honest with you, I've failed at a lot of them. All these people that get this overnight success, oftentimes it's not overnight. They've been learning something for a long time, and you see the small sliver of where they are able to be incredibly successful. You don't see the 10 years they put in order to get there. I was fortunate that I realized sales as a skill is the single best skill you can have. Better than any other skill, everything in life is sales. So I realized remote closing is the perfect thing for me. Back in 2019, remote sales wasn't really a thing. I would occasionally do Zoom calls with hedge funds in Hong Kong at 4 in the morning. I would wake up, I'd have my coffee, and I would do calls with them. But we would have to fly over and close those deals. It's not like now where you can close tens of thousands of dollars worth of deals completely remotely. So that's what I do now. I do remote sales, and that's what enables me to live in beautiful Thailand and enjoy everything this country has to offer. I'm going to take you along with my story. I'm going to talk about sales tips, mindset, as it's been a really difficult journey to get here. And if you watched the whole video, you are a legend, so thank you. If you've watched it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I want you to comment this specific phrase: don't watch till the end of the video. I want you to comment that, and then we'll all know that you're the only person who've watched the end of the video. It's probably going to be one person, probably my mum, but there we go. Take care, guys. Bye.